What's going on, guys? So this morning we've got a 2019 Polaris clutch, primary clutch. It's got some sticking characteristics. It's not wanting to release. I suspect the inner bushing is going to be tight on it. So today we're going to break down the clutch, pull the spider nut off, and get down to the bushing and make sure everything's moving like it's supposed to. So first things first, we're going to take a Sharpie, and you want to make sure that you make some lineup marks in the clutch to where you can get everything back in the same orientation that it was previously. So we're going to make a mark on the cap, movable sheave, and the stationary sheave, just to make sure we get all those things back in the same spot where we started from. So all right, we'll follow along. I'll try and talk while I do this. This is a whole new thing for us, so excuse us if we're not real good at doing videos. So anyway, we'll get right into it. First things first, we do have our specialty tools to hold the clutch in the vise. It's really necessary to go ahead and purchase those tools if you want to break clutch down. It's going to make everything a lot easier on you. So anyway, right tools for the job are always the most important thing you could do. So don't skimp and don't try and get around and do some crazy stuff. There's good tools out there. It won't cost you but a little bit of money. So get the right stuff. Makes the job a lot easier. So anyway, we'll get into it. I'll try and talk as we go. So here it is. All right, first things first, we're going to break off the cover plate. We don't have anything holding the spring pressure back on these primary clutches. You can hold them back by hand to remove them and put them together, doing clutch kit stuff like that. Secondaries, you need a special tool for. You can build your own, no big deal. Put this one back in actually so we can walk it out evenly and don't screw anything up. So let's put that in. We'll take this one out. Basically, we're just trying to work in a crisscross pattern, so everything comes up nice and even. So we've got the last 3 in it now. We'll ease these out a little bit. Let it work itself up. And one to go. All right. Pop this off. So, limiting spacer, very important. Keeps you from overshifting your clutch and having a bunch of belt issues. So, if you don't have one of those, make sure it's in your clutch. Spring. We're going to set everything on the bench here, kind of in the orientation it comes out. Next thing, spider nut. So, these are red Loctited on from the factory. We're going to use the old trusty hardware store propane torch. If you have a big torch at your shop, you're going to want to be careful using it because you can get things a little too hot and cause yourself some trouble. So anyway, one of these small torches is really perfect for this job. So we're going to put some heat in this thing and get the Loctite epoxy to loosen up so we can take the nut off. So one main difference between the turbo clutches and the regular Rzr 1000 clutches, the 1000s have a cast powder nut here, so you don't want to use an impact on it. On the turbos, Pro XPs, all that good stuff, they give you not a cast nut, so you can actually use an impact on it. So subtle differences between the two, but important so you don't screw that nut up. And we're going to put a bunch of heat in this thing, try and get it to loosen up easier, but you're just trying to melt that epoxy in there and get it hot, so it'll come off easier. So while we're heating this up, let's talk about symptoms on why we think it's doing what it's doing. So customer had some really harsh engagement, having to rev it up really high to get the buggy to move. So not an uncommon thing for the bushing to get dirty and start to stick and have some issues, you know, like it's having. So feel pretty confident that's what the problem's going to be. So we're going to take this thing apart, sandpaper that bushing a little bit, clean it up, and make sure it's doing what it's supposed to do. It takes a pretty good temperature to get the Loctite to release or to heat up and be liquid again, so you're going to want to put a good amount of heat in it. So once again, if you've got a Rzr 1000 clutch, you're going to want to use a breaker bar instead of an impact on that powder nut. You don't want to break that thing. If it goes to pieces, it's going to be a problem. So. Once again, just trying to heat it up evenly. And make sure we can get that Loctite to release. So a good way to keep these things from getting dirty, unless you got water intrusion or mud and stuff like that, blow them out very often. Belts tend to have some debris that come off of them and just suck in the dust and everything in from the outside elements. You're going to want to keep those clutches really clean every time you get a chance. Get in there, take some compressed air, blow it out really well, and just make sure they're staying clean. Alright, let's give that a shot, see what we can do. Cut that off. Alright, so as we stated earlier, right tool for the job. So, spider nut tool. All these things are pretty available. If you have trouble getting them, just let us know. We can get you a setup. Not a problem, but very important to have the right stuff. All right, there's that Loctite getting nice and powdery. We're going to be really careful here and move quick. Yes, it is hot. All right. So now we've got everything pulled out. One way came with it. Let's see. one way to release off there. Maybe some of our trouble there. So let's do this first. We'll pull our spider. Sliders look good on it, no issues. It's the aftermarket Assassin's HD sliders. Those tucked back down in there where they need to be. All right, all our weights are loose, no binding. You want to check the rollers in here for flat spots. No flat spots on the rollers. All right. There's our bushing. Set it to the side. The one way is actually hung up in this. That's interesting. So, thrust washer right on the stationary sheave. Make sure it's in good shape. Make sure it's there. You don't want that one-way bearing, or two-way bearing as they call it, riding on the stationary sheave and actually eating in the aluminum and causing issues. So make sure your thrust washers are intact whenever you do a one-way bearing job. So, I need a hammer to free this thing up. All right, so what was going on there? The one-way bearing was hung in the bushing in here. So one-way, two-way bearing was hung inside of this bushing. So that means that bushing is definitely got some debris and too tight. So that's what we're going to try and get cleaned up and get it back operational. So we're going to set the one-way back on here for now. Everything's good with it. It spins fine. Always check your sheaves, make sure there's no grooving, pits, or anything like that. We'll clean it up with some Scotch-Brite whenever we get finished up here. So, we're going to take some sandpaper. We're going to clean that surface of that bushing. We're going to get any debris, mud, whatever's, anything on there that could be causing things to hang up. We're going to get it to where it moves freely up and down, like it won't do now. So, anyway. Take your sandpaper, get that bushing cleaned up really good. You don't want to take a ton off. Now this is the bushing is a wear item, so you don't want to get in here with a power tool or anything like that. Just hand sandpaper it, get her cleaned up, and give it the clearance, and it's going to need to move in and out. So. Work our way around. Use a little long air compressor action. Still the stick. Let's take these sliders off for now so we don't damage those. Work our way around, get it cleaned up. Starting to get where we want it to, so we'll just keep cleaning it up until we can slide that one-way bearing through there nicely. Like I say, this is a wear item too, so this bushing inside here you don't want to take too much off of. That's the surface that it needs to get long life. So you want to do enough to get things moving along, get it cleaned up, but not too crazy with it. So. No jokes here about my sandpaper method in this hole, so watch yourselves. Alright, so we've got things moving along nicely there. We'll drop this back on. External thrust washer on the one-way bearing. Make sure everything moves in and out easily like it should. We'll put our sliders back on. We'll line up our earlier marks that we made with the Sharpie as we go along so we don't get off. A little grease here on my table. this spacer as well. The surface has got a little debris on it, so once again, want everything to move freely inside of here. That's the goal. If it'll move freely, so will the buggy. So if you're getting some weird engagement, bigger stall than you planned for, that not able to drink coffee when you take off on a normal trail setup, well, this is probably what's going on with it. You got a dirty clutch. So dirty clutch, tight bushing. So we'll throw that back on there. This thing it's reduced on the inside, so it goes one way, pretty self-explanatory. So we'll make sure that our movable sheave can move in and out of that bushing as well without too much trouble. Looks like that'll do it. So that'll go there. This will come back on. Got everything moving like we want it to. We're going to clean the old Loctite off of these threads before we go back with it, so we get a good bite on it. All right. Let me grab a wire brush. I'll be right back with you. Want to remove that old Loctite residue that's in there. Make sure that we get our nut the cleanest possible threads that you can give it. Alright, so now we are going to go back with our spider. Spider's down on there. Clutch is moving nice and free. And I didn't get my marks lined up. Look at me. Alright, there we go. Line our marks up. Spider goes on. Alright. So, next thing is we're going to put 4 streaks of red Loctite under on these threads. So 4 nice even streaks all the way down. I like to rub mine in just a little bit so it doesn't ball up on the threads and kind of spreads out a little bit. You screw the you put the nut back on. Run it down by hand, and then we'll throw an impact on it. Check your service manual for the torque spec on this. You're going to want to torque it. Once again, specialty tool. Turn this bad boy. Sure things lined up. right, so spring, speed limiting washer. It's got a recess on one side for the spring itself. I want to get that back on there in the right spot. And we'll go back with our cap. Now on the cap, we're going to do blue Loctite on these. I should say cover plate. We're going to go blue Loctite on these. And the Kimball West little squeeze bottles for Never Seas are absolutely fantastic. Let's make sure we line up our marks that we put on it from the get-go. So we got everything where we need it. I'll drop that in there. We'll Loctite this one. Drop it in and here. We'll bring the clutch up. Make sure our sliders are where they're supposed to be. And we'll start these by hand. And once again, your primary spring doesn't have a ton of pressure, so this is not that difficult to do. Got those started. Put the rest of them in. Once again, a little blue Loctite. If you're kind of new to all this stuff, or just, you know, at-home mechanicing in general, grab your hand tools first before you grab the impacts. Sometimes, you know, the tools that makes things easier on us can actually make things harder on us. So unless you have a really good feel for, you know, what you're doing, sometimes it's better to use hand tools. We've done quite a few of these, so we're gonna use the impact, but just a little word of warning at home. You know, it's nothing wrong with using hand tools. Don't let the fancy impacts and all that stuff scare you off from doing your own work. I mean, if you're a guy at your home garage, Harbor Freight has some great stuff to get you started for the occasional use. Might not be heavy enough for you know, commercial everyday use, but the home hobbyist, man, that's a really good start. Just absolutely great products for the guy at home. Even some hard to get stuff. So don't discount your local Harbor Freight and with their cheap Chinese tools. Sometimes they're lifesavers. So. Snug these up. Once again, crisscross pattern. And that is it. Our clutch is back together. So that's what you're looking for. You want to be able to grab that thing, move it up and down. Obviously, the stiffer spring you run, the harder it is going to be to move that thing by hand and push it around. But you should still be able to. So, like I say, you want that nice free movement back and forth, and that's gonna let the engagement do what it does. So. We're going to get this thing back to a good friend of mine, Wayne McManus. He ran it up to me. It's a Saturday, so they're actually at the bar hanging out, watching some football. So he ran it up to me, so I figured we'd knock it out for him right quick. So shoot a little video for you guys at home that haven't seen one taken apart before. So anyway, thanks for watching. I know it's a little bit of a long one. I'll try and trim it up at the end, but thanks for tuning in. All right, guys.